Yep. Well, I'll have some lights. It's not going to be like as professional, but we have a couple of ring lights and I have some longer vertical lights that will leave in the room. And we did it in the way where the natural light will be on the backdrop so that if it's a nice day, you can pull up the blinds, you get some natural light as well.
And I take that back. It's on December the 12th. So it's the day before the office event, and it'll go on for going for a week or so anyway. So just something to do. You know, just so you know, one of Ray's last week, they had an event for clients, their client event, and they rented the movie theater and they showed 2 movies on a Saturday morning and had invited all their clients to go to 3 movies.
Very good.
So that would have cost them, I don't know, maybe $2,000, $3,000 to have. They had maybe 150. And if you did this like 10 years ago, you get 500, but because of COVID, 150 or so. But something to do. What some other people did, and I know Steve did this too. I don't know, did you go to people's houses or they came to your place for photography?
Oh no, I rented a studio.
Okay, so Steve's rented a studio in the past with a professional photographer, invite his clients to come in with their kids and take Christmas photos. So we're doing almost the same thing here. So you know, you can maybe not to book it, I guess, but just make sure you don't double book. And the client event. So these are all things that people are doing. And this is what Chris was talking about here. Like, what are you doing? What do you know?
We're trying to give you ways to interact with your clients and keep them engaged. You know, if they're not buying and selling, you can still be in contact with them until when they're ready, 2024.
Chris said something really cute there. I hope I can remember. I should have written it down. He said if you well, in that sense, he said if you're expecting different results, then you need to do different things. Right. So somehow if you want to, if you're trying to generate more business, then you got to do different things, right? That's I think what words he used there. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so also today, as of noon, so noon's passed, you had the opportunity to vote for that that Ontario Realtor Wellness Program survey.
It forced you. If you logged into Trev, it forced you to do it.
So I wish they had done this very first go around. It would have saved a whole lot of grief and a whole lot of whatever else. My question to you guys, not question, just a question to myself, meaning that if majority of people voted yes, and I think we're going to find out on the
also the 29th, I don't know.
The 27th or 29th or something, right?
Oh no, I saw the annual general. Oh yeah, that was
no, we did that.
Yeah.
We did the general meeting. They're going to announce anyways. They're going to do some vote. I think on the 29th they're going to vote. So Trev's going to vote, and some other real estate board's going to vote. And I think what I read Trev saying that we're going to vote, and if we vote against it, then the whole thing's going to disappear. I mean, some people are going to say we want to make it voluntary. It can't be voluntary. It's either in or out. And it sounds like Trev's going to listen to us. So I guess they're going to take their survey and they're going to vote based on what the survey was, and they should have done that from the beginning. So my question is, or not question, comment again, is if everybody decided that they want to go forward, do you think the people that have the lawsuit going, calling for age discrimination, do you think they'll just stop their lawsuit, or do you think they'll still try to press their point? Even though majority said if we want it, do you think that this minority will still go ahead and try to kill it?
They're so far in right now, having lawyers.
I'm just speculating, and if majority of people do want it, in this small group, not small group, it's a big group, but this 12,000 people still want to go for the lawsuit, what do the majority of people say? I don't know.
I still think it'll happen.
What did I say last week? State of politics, state of all these other things, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
whenever you talk about that,
awards program. So here's some good news. So awards program becomes Centurion last year. You had to do $320,000 to become Centurion. They've, because of the way the economy's gone, they've reversed that a little bit and they've knocked it down. And effective this year, it's going to be $250,000 to qualify for
the 2023 year.
No, and the reason why they did it was because the American dollar is getting so much stronger than the Canadian dollar. So, you know, like all our competitors, like if you're with LePage or Remax, or if you're 100% club, that's $100,000.
But that's Canadian dollar.
It's 250 Canadian now. It was 320. It was 250 American, and it was 320 Canadian.
So now it's 250.
So now it's 250 Canadian, and that's what it was years ago. Remember, years ago they never did the conversion. Anyway, so that's good news. Bad news is that, or good news, I don't know. If they decide to go forward with the wellness program, that's going to add another $550 to your dues. So come the end of the year, the dues are gonna be approximately $2,000. So you're gonna have about $900 for your TREB dues, you're gonna have about $500 for RIA Korea dues. And you'll have $600, $650 for this this due here. So it's about 2,000, about $2,100. It would normally be due on December 31st, but they've extended it to January 15th.
But the situation about 40 years ago, it used to be 120,000,
That's right.
and now it's at 240.
That's right.
250.
So it's not keeping up
So
with
it really
inflation.
hasn't gone up.
It's not keeping up with inflation. That's right. And back there to do 150,000, you had to do like 30 deals or something.
Yeah, they have been 30 years.
And did everybody vote? Vote for what? Eh? Yeah, you had to vote for your director at large. You had to vote for the upcoming president and these directors and these people here, by the way, these are the ones that voted for that Ontario wealth thing on your behalf. Anyways, we have how many agents in Toronto Real Estate Board? 76,000 and 5,314 voted.
How many?
5,314 from 76,000. So also in January, just so you know, coming soon signs, anything that any property that has for sale sign on it, any property that you've advertised on it, even though you may have an exclusive listing, as soon as you've advertised it and made it available to the public, it must be on MLS in 3 days.
These are TREB rules
So you
also,
can't
not
just
TRESA.
advertise anything.
Correct. Cannot advertise anything without
Can
it
you
being,
come
without
soon
it,
3 days earlier?
can't have exclusive listing.
No. Can you do come soon 3 days earlier?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's on MLS in 3 days, so you can,
So what about assignment?
same thing.
But they can't be in MLS. They're not exclusive. They're not exclusive.
Right? No, well, there's exclusive only for 3 days.
Yeah, you can still have exclusive listings and talk
Assignment,
about
okay,
it.
so assignment sales, I don't want to get too much into it here, but assignment sales, the builder doesn't allow you to do assignment sales anyway, so you're kind of doing it under the table as it is.
Oh, but a lot of people put on their Facebook and so on.
Yeah, but they don't identify the unit, so they're being invisible. They're doing it kind of under the table, right? So just think it through, huh?
I think just clarify, you can have an exclusive listing.
Yes.
You can talk about it internally here with your peers. You just can't advertise it on social media or a sign. And when you do, it has to be an MLS within 3 days. It doesn't mean you can't take an exclusive listing. You can still take an exclusive listing. You just cannot advertise it.
You can advertise it, you can send emails to individual agents to advertise
In your
it.
brokerage,
So it can send email to anybody.
Yeah.
in your brokerage,
No,
anybody?
you can send individual emails to individuals, like let's say you're selling gas stations, okay, you could send it to all your gas station buddies. But you just can't make it a general
No,
advertisement.
but even if you're selling your home, you can send an email to your
Correct,
agents and clients. And
correct, that's right, it just can't be general advertising. Okay, so on the trust, of course, it's one thing about that. No,
No, save it for the end.
save to the end. Here we go again. Here's another major sign: Toronto's real estate markets in big trouble. This is blog to or no, Toronto.com. This website and Toronto.com are very right wing, left wing, should say, very NDP, very anti-business, very anti. So they always come up with real wild things. Right. So we're saying here. Here's another major sign: Toronto's real estate market is in big trouble right now. And he's saying because there's all these power sales have come to the market. So the market's being flooded with power sales. I went to the webpage last night. I found 80 power sales. Yeah, 80.
It's not that many.
That's all GTA. So that to me is not a massive. That to me doesn't seem like to be a massive thing or anything. So I think these guys are just trying to push buttons and pinch things around. That's fine. And the federal government came in with some announcements there, and it's really not clear. Nobody sort of pointed this out. That I don't think. You guys aware of the budget that came in last Tuesday? You think they came in with all that stuff that they're talking about? Has anybody kept up to speed on that? No. Kind of went and kind of disappeared. they're talking about giving a lot of money to build purpose-built rental units and things like that, which is fine, but one, no HT, things like that, but one thing they did do was called the New Canadian Mortgage Charter. And I wanted to check with Rand, I'll double check with Rand, but double check with your lenders. Right now, if you have a client that has a renewal coming up, they're handcuffed because they can't go somewhere else. If existing mortgage company says, here's your renewal and here's your rate, if you don't like it, tough. Because your only alternative is to go to another lender and you have to requalify based on the stress test. So you can't qualify based on 8%. And so basically the existing mortgage guys got you over the barrel. So the government says, if you're in that situation, you do not have to qualify for the stress test to shop that mortgage out to somebody else. That's a big thing. I'm surprised the newspapers never picked up on it.
That's next year.
January 1st.
But I thought that was for the CMHC mortgage.
They are. They're all CMHC, not
No, there's not regular mortgage, conventional.
no. So it's regular chartered. The the government only has control over chartered banks. They don't have control over private banks or even.
No, but if you have a conventional mortgage with a TD bank.
Yep.
You still have to get respect. When you're changing mortgage.
They're saying, no, did you read this on Tuesday? They changed it on Tuesday.
I read something that it only applies to CMHC mortgage if you're a CMHC mortgage.
They're talking about 20% down, so they're not talking about CMHC mortgages. They're talking about any mortgage, not just high ratio. There's only so you can only shop the insured mortgage. So you're correct. Okay. So they've got an insured mortgage and they want to take that insured mortgage and shop it or go somewhere else, then you don't have to qualify. So that's good. It's better than a kick in the pants, right? If it's an insured mortgage already.
People don't have insured mortgages because, people were not putting 10% down. There was nothing less than $1 million.
Shit.
Very good.
And then they talked about I no longer qualify for a mortgage on my pre-construction property. What are my options? Does anybody have that? Nobody's got that? Everybody pre-qualifies for the pre-construction condos that can close? So basically, the only answers are to go with private lender. That's it. Private lender's only answer, or walk away from your deposit and
Then we'll let the builder sue you.
let the builder sue you. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. You got to look at your client. I mean, if your client's going to buy a $1.5 million property, and today it's worth 1.3, and he's got $200,000, $150,000 down, you might better just walk on.
People don't qualify.
And that's the other thing. If they don't qualify because of the interest rates or they don't qualify, they haven't got a choice anyways. Anyways, that's it. And then the guy in the radio there was taking advantage of old folks where people were buying on loans, are buying like heavy insulation, new roofing, surge protectors in their houses, water softeners, not one but two, new furnaces, and these guys were just taking advantage of these old folks sitting in their houses, 80-year-old guys sitting in their house, and they're not all there and taking advantage of them. And then once they got them hooked up to 1 or 2, 3, 4 devices, then they tell them, look, you can't pay all these amounts, let's get you a mortgage instead. And then they give the guy a mortgage, and the guy doesn't even work. And then the guy can't work, and then they take power of sale and they take the property over. It's an organized crime. So they're actually arrested for doing that. Does anybody come across that? I've come across that. Some clients take advantage of them, right? So sales so far, just to keep you up to date here, we've got 19,060 listings. Last week we had 20,065. So we actually lost 1,000 listings in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I think they were terminated. I'm signing lots of terminations.
A lot of them terminated because you can't get it.
Yeah, a lot of guys are terminating, so I see that. Salesmen themselves are only down 6% from last October as well. Sorry, down 6% from last November. They're also down about 6% from October. So October sales to the 26th to November 26th, they're also down a little bit, about 6%. Nothing big, but we're definitely in a bit of a change. Of the 19,000 active listings overall, 9,000 of the 19,000. This is a wild number. Of the 19,000 active listings, 9,000 of them are vacant or tenanted. That's like 50%. So what does that tell us? It's like people are just cashing out or I don't know. What do you do with the vacant or sorry, tenant property? People buying tenant properties, people want to assume tenants anymore? Right? Nobody wants to touch those, right? Of the 19,000, talk about assignments, of the 19,000, 196 of them are assignments. Yeah.
But they can be in MLS anyway, so there's a very.
You know, these are on MLS, so
Some are allowed,
depends if the building is sold out or that, you know, it's sold.
very few.
Leases are saying leases have slowed down, but I see leases down about 4% from last year, so they're down, but not huge. Okay, so let's get into Teresa. We still don't have any forms. And I'm going to share a screen with you.
Yep, got them. Oops.
So the girls downstairs, CSR downstairs is in the middle of trying to upload the documents, except that we don't have any documents to upload.
We're in a little bit of a limbo.
I don't think so. Not this time. It'd be nice if they did, though. Okay, so last week we talked about sellers. Today I'm going to talk about buyers. So we've got a lot of buyers, and everything we talk about here, there's a tenant side on it as well. So when I say there's a listing form, there's also a listing form for tenants. When I say there's an offer form, there's also an offer form for tenants, and so on and so forth. There's self-represented seller, there's self-represented landlord.
Even your CCR, there's 2 CCRs now.
Confirmation representation, there's one for selling and there's one for tenants. Also, there's all the same for commercial. So all this stuff applies to commercial as well. So if you're selling stores or gas stations or commercial spaces, right, commercial is also applicable to the laws. So the first thing you're going to do okay, so let me just put it in perspective here. So you have prospects, and then you have clients, and you have self-represented people. When you have a prospect, that means that a prospect would be somebody that's walking in your open house, somebody that phoned you off of an internet call, somebody that's doing lead gen on your lead gen calls. These people are prospects. Potential clients, possible clients. These are neither self-represented people or are they represented people. These are just,
We don't know yet.
we don't know. They're just prospects. And as Chris was saying on his thing here, he's saying when somebody phones them up on the thing, well, I've got other products for sale, we think they're getting in your sales mode. So you can do all the things that you normally did. So nothing's changed. So whatever you did before, you can do again. Same thing. Nothing's changed. Because they're just prospects. Right? As soon as they indicate to you, hey, I'm serious. I want to start looking. I want to see what's going on. Can you start sending me information? Start sending me comparables or what are they going to start doing? And then what you're going to do, you're going to send this document first, and this is called the RICO Information Guide. This is a mandatory guide. It's from RICO, and it has to be presented to the client before you do anything else. So again, you got prospect. You're talking now. The guy's getting a little more serious. Then you're gonna fire this off. So you're gonna have this document saved on your phone someplace, so you can send the client the email link. You're gonna have on your sent folder that you sent them this link. So in the future, if somebody comes to you and says, "Client never got this guide," you're gonna show that you got the link that you sent it to. Meantime, RICO is supposed to come up with an app, and the app is supposed to do the same thing. The app is supposed to put in their address, and the app sends them the notification, to get confirmation that they said it, that they was sent. But I haven't got the forms yet for RICO, so I'm not surprised I haven't got the app yet either. What I want to talk about here, so you've got, work with the realtor, what to look for. So this thing is 13 pages. And it goes in all the different things, but I want to stop at, just up a little bit. if your client reads this, let's say it's a seller client reads this, and just going down to the services, so there's no standard set of services, payment amount. If right now you're gonna have your listed agreement and there's no schedule to it, it's just a listed agreement itself. But your client's gonna read this and they're gonna say to you, your agreement needs to clearly indicate the amount you agree to pay your brokerage or how it be calculated for the services and representation you receive. So that's okay. You've got the standard form, so we're going to take advantage of that. They're also going to ask is the amount you agree to pay to compensate the buyer for their brokerage fee. So that's the co-op. So we're doing that now. And then it says here, how much are you agree to pay? How are the amounts? Sorry, I'm trying to read it. How the amounts you agree to pay will change if you consent to multiple representation. And what I said a couple of weeks ago, that if you don't make any promises, then there's no Schedule A. If you've made a promise, then there has to be a Schedule A, and you have to dictate what the question, what the answers will be. And your client's reading this, so your client's going to say, well, what if there's multiple representation? What are you going to do about commission? And if you've agreed to reduce your commission because of multiple representation, you got to put that in Schedule A. You can't just do it verbal anymore. I'm sorry?
One area you're gonna show it, the confirmation of cooperation.
Yeah, it's confirmation cooperation. Yeah, the form itself. No.
You need to tell them in advance
No.
what's gonna happen, not at the
Any
time of an
promise-
offer.
Any
Fine.
promise you've made has to be in writing at the listing. You haven't got an offer yet. So it says, if there's going to be multiple, if you made the promise, if I get my own buyer, I'm going to reduce the commission to whatever you're going to reduce it to. It has to be on the Schedule A.
Anything that you promise you're going to service or do needs to be in writing in a schedule.
If you're going to stage a house and you're going to pay for it, you got to put it in there. If you're going to stage it and they're going to pay for it, you got to put it in there. And if you're not going to, just to answer your question, if you're not going to promise anything, then there's no Schedule A.
All right.
You follow me there?
Say we not use Schedule A and say, I would state by the state that,
Yes, I will stage your house and who's going to pay for it.
but you don't have to use the Schedule A.
Yeah.
They should use a Schedule A for that.
But the Schedule A has so many other things. in it.
Schedule A is blank right now.
Blank.
The Schedule A is blank. There's nothing on the Schedule A right now.
But I thought you had a commission there, selling it. No,
We're talking about the listing side. Just on the listing right now. The listing, Schedule A, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna pay for your staging, I'm gonna pay for your moving, I'm gonna paint that wall at my expense, or you're gonna do the staging and you're gonna pay for it. So there's no question who's gonna pay for it, right?
what if you're renovating the house? How can you renovate the house?
Schedule A.
They're paying for that.
Seller agrees to renovate the house at their expense. Because I don't want anybody going in there phoning me later on saying that somebody renovated the house and now they sent me the bill. What for? Agent said they're gonna pay for it. And this is exactly what this other thing was talking about, this scanning thing.
The Schedule A is blank. You can-
Yeah, like right now, you're most likely not even using a Schedule A.
Right now, you're not.
So now you're gonna add a Schedule A and you're gonna list services and
You can
commission.
write whatever you want.
And right now, right now on the listing, Schedule A is blank. There's no pre-typed A or anything.
Even
It's
the
just
line
blank.
itself is blank. You're gonna put a letter A in it.
Same thing with termination. They talk a lot about termination. If for some reason you've agreed to terminate it. If you said that after so many days, if the thing isn't sold, I'll agree to terminate, you gotta put that in writing.
I've even seen, MLS has a minimum 60 days. Sometimes I see people say if 30 days, I'll cancel it. That needs to be in writing also, because that's considered early termination as per MLS rules. So that needs to be in writing as well.
If you're not sure, then you terminate it.
If there's no promises, you're not sure, there's nothing to put in a schedule.
If seller agreed to give you window, right? So why does he have to bring it to the schedule?
Seller agreed to, sorry?
To do renovation? That's not.
It's really just to protect you, to be very clear about who's paying for what and who's doing for what.
Oh,
So that when the bad, because nothing happens until it's bad. So you want to make sure you protect yourself before. I'll show them the end where you sign it.
Now, it says on here, termination provisions. I want to go to changing designated representation. Remember I said before, if you change a designated representation and they don't want you to change it, then the contract's at an end. That just drives me nuts. So the saying here is if you've entered a designated representation agreement, the broker cannot appoint a different representation unless you agree. The brokerage may ask to appoint somewhere else. For example, your designated representation stops working with the brokerage or otherwise not available to provide services. Okay, so I don't know this. I may have to change this because right now I'm not canceling anything.
So Claire, whose name goes into buyer's sale, like last time you mentioned that,
Yeah.
Your?
No, I'm gonna do buyer. I'm gonna
We'll
do that
bring
next.
it up,
I'm gonna bring it up next. So they're gonna read this stuff here. So well, I'm gonna do buyers today, right? So again, we're still dealing with the prospect. The prospect says, I'm interested in doing something. We've accepted this information guide. He's read this information guide. He's asked you some questions and so on and so forth. So now we have the next thing would be our we have an office form. I'm not gonna show it right now. It's called a buyer disclosure acknowledgement. And what it says here is that I confirm that my agent asked me if I've worked with any other agent, and I confirm I have not. It's a separate standalone paper because I know you've got listed agreements that say that I have not entered into another agreement with anybody else. They always say that. I like having this separate piece of paper, separate and beside itself, and I use it later on if we ever have an arbitration problem.
And I do see people skip over that form. I think it's because it's not required and it's covered on the listing agreement, but it is a form to protect you in the event that you need to go after somebody for interfering with your contract.
Okay, working with the realtor. I'm still with the buyer now. Okay, so Mr. Buyer, now I'm going to go work with the realtor. When we're working with the realtor, we'll probably go with this one here, the 2-pager. You can do a 1-page as well. So you're going to put the client's name, the buyer and seller's name on there. You're going to initial it. And then they're going to decide. Square on the bottom. Once you've explained working with the realtor with the buyer, they're going to make 2 choices. Or down the bottom.
I just want to minimize it. Do a little small dot. Yeah. Thank you.
People you voted for.
I want to be clear. So no, but Reba, this Tressa is replacing Reba, which is the law. It's nothing to do with Oria Rico. It's the law. It hasn't been updated in 20, 30 years. How long was it updated? 20 years. So Tressa is replacing Reba. This is Oria's interpretation of the law and what they think you need to include in your forms, right? It's just that they're forms.
So now you're doing work with the realtor. So they got 2 choices. They're either going to work with you as a BRA, like a proper representation, or they're going to be self-represented. When would it be self-represented? Let's say you got an open house and this buyer wants to buy your property. That'd be the situation there, right? If they're going to be self-represented, then we have to go to the right. So let's go to the RICO. Is it RICO information guide? Yeah, we do tabs.
Depends what you're looking for.
I want the self-represented RICO.
Not Rico, you mean Oria.
Oh, RICO.
The Rico only has information guide.
No, go on. There's a RICO guide for self-represented.
Did you open it?
Where do you have it? Bring a folder class. One of these arrows is called plus.
There's only one Rico information guide.
Anyway, so there's a second form that's required from RICO, and it's called a self-represented acknowledgement consent.
Is it on Rico's homepage? I can go to Rico website.
Go through 25. two forms. There's another form in here which we have that's not on my chart, which I have to win. There's a RICO form. Somebody decides they want to be self-represented, which is going to be very rare. I'm just going to touch on it basically. Be self-represented, not very much. There's three forms. There's work with the realtor. I want to be self-represented. There's a RICO form saying this is what self-represented means. And then there's the RIA form, which is this one here, is that the multiple representation consent, which means even though you've explained on confirmation representation, or you've explained what multiple representation is, you still have the consent to it. And then once they've consented to it, then they have to do the third part, and that's the confirmation representation. So there's three steps to it.
Welcome to multiple.
So that's what they're telling me. They don't want to do multiple representation.
Don't do it.
I say do it. I say
It's
do
still
it.
permitted, yes.
Yeah, I say do it. So going back to the buyer side. So now they decide, no, they want to work with you. They're not going to be self-represented. So we're going to go back to the confirmation representation. Sorry, the BRA, so 300. So now you're the buyer. You've got this form. This is, so you've got the RICO information guide, you've set them, you've got the work with the realtor, now they decide they're going to work with you, you've got the buyer disclosure acknowledgement, separate form, now you've got the BRA itself. Form 300.
It's trying. Peter's computer's struggling.
Lots, I had 11 of them open already, so you try to double open it.
No, that BRA one's not open.
Well,
Wait a second.
it's because there's so many, there's the tabs with the scroll over. No, it's just-
I'm gonna close it. I'm just gonna open them as we need them. It's slow.
Okay, fine. Ta-da. Okay, this is the BRA. Buyer representation agreement. Looks like the old agreement there. The only difference between this one here is you see there it says designated representative. So to answer Shiv's question, the agent, the buying agent that's working with the BRA. So let me ask, I'm gonna ask a question for team leaders. Shiv here, who else? Team leaders. Who signs the BRA? Does the team leader or the buying agent?
In your world, right now, Kathy probably, right? Kathy or Meta, you probably sign the BRA.
I'm sorry.
Kathy or Meta probably sign the BRA
For myself.
or yourself.
All right,
So it changes
Because I
depending.
didn't get it done when I list one.
All right, so what you're gonna do, so if you're gonna BRA, if you're a team leader, if you're not a team leader, you're gonna put your own name there if you're not a team leader. If you think that you're gonna go on vacation sometime in the future, you could put your friend's name in there,
Who's that?
your friend. Or like, let's say you got somebody that's gonna cover for it. You can put as many names you want. So if you've got a licensed assistant that's gonna be looking at the file, their name has to be on this agreement.
License.
I have a
Licensed,
question.
not licensed.
Do
These are
they-
licensed people.
Who, do they all, all the names have to sign it as
No.
well?
So can we reprint BRA and put everybody's name?
Sure.
The whole team like that, no matter.
Yeah.
its name and stuff?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can do that. Yeah. Two at a time.
That would make more sense,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because then they're talking about doing this stuff and that. So yeah, so I prefer not to do it all, but I think that I can't. I'd rather not have designated representation at all. I'd rather be
Don't have
brokerage.
anything.
Yeah, I'd rather leave it blank, but
It leaves you more open to flexibility if you don't have any names there, because anyone in the brokerage could then support you.
Can you leave it blank?
You can leave it blank if you'd like to.
For the name of the team, or does it have to be the video?
You can't be the individual names.
it has to be licensed. This is RICO, so it can't be the solo team, right? So it has to be individuals.
Why don't we have the forms, the title here on the office name? Percy Fulton.
Because some agents don't use our form. Some people
Here's
use
the
their own.
reason why I've decided to go DR is because I'm not in everybody's living room. So when an agent sees this form and they see designated representative, and they say name of salesperson, what's gonna happen? I know what's gonna happen. You're gonna put your name in there. Is asked for my name, they're gonna put a name in, right? So no sense in even fighting that battle.
If you don't put a name,
Then it's a brokerage listing.
that's okay.
It's okay, but it really makes it
It's
complicated.
okay,
because-
but nobody's advocating for that.
Yeah, sometimes you don't even know.
But you don't wanna give the ownership, that's what people think.
Here's the problem, right? So if half of us don't put DRs, the other half does, and you've got offers, you can register an offer on an office listing. You don't know whether it's DR or not. You don't know whether it's multi-representation or designated representation. Like it's too confusing. So we better off just to put it in there and make it happen. This is a standard.
Right, does that say that like between the agents being there, like above the listing, or it's still is it?
It's still a brokerage list.
It's still brokerage.
I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I've asked the question. You think,
My interpretation of Tressa is that it's still a brokerage listing. The
Yeah.
challenge is that you still require paperwork and client's agreement to change it.
That's
So,
what
but
I meant, like,
it is still our
Isn't that
listing.
a brokerage listing?
Let's say someone's going out of town, suddenly someone.
You technically would need an amendment
You
to
have
put
to-
a new designated rep and that
So-
client has to sign it.
so if you're, all right, so this is an agreement.
Let's say
If,
you're gone for a month,
Yeah.
and you have a signed contract, then signed by from third party.
No, that contract's with whoever is the designated rep on the original
Let's say
agreement.
they have a signed contract for the 10 hours. And she's gone for a month and they haven't done that.
She would need to do an amendment to add somebody
She's
else.
gone.
that listing have to be canceled.
That listing, that rest,
Her BRA would have to be canceled.
yeah,
Even
it's
though
in
I
breach of
just thought,
contract. Mhm.
You know, like if this is something complicated, say my agent is not there.
Then contact the listing broker and get the listing canceled. Once it's canceled, I can talk to them.
We gotta get it.
Yeah, because it's gray right now. I don't know, because right now it says here that the brokerage is providing service. Sorry, yeah, service, and the agent's providing representation. So. I got that question.
Is that the answer I got?
Mhm. Oh, there's-
The response that I got, or?
oh, that's- So I asked chat,
Oh, you just had it. I
yeah,
just,
fine, yeah. I asked Chat GPT, what's the difference between service and representation? Because I don't know.
give me your file. It's okay in here.
Right?
I did see it.
I'm still learning.
Yeah, so I said, I don't know the question, because I thought someone's gonna ask me the question, I didn't know, I really didn't know what the answer was. Anyways. So now you got the BRA, so BRA is gonna be the same thing else, and you still have to register BRA on the BRS. You can still do that. Does anybody do that? Does everybody register the BRAs on the BRS? One? We're in the middle of a arbitration thing right now, and we are on the receiving end, which means somebody's coming after us, and they're saying that they've got the buyer registered on the BRS. Why didn't we look at it?
Did they register?
Yeah, the system, right?
Did they register it?
Yeah.
So then it's someone.
Could be. How many people check the BRS for buyers? And the reason why you don't, because it's so difficult. You gotta put the guy's phone number, you gotta put everything in there. It's gotta be exactly right, perfect, and or otherwise it disappears. And in this particular case, the guy lives in Ajax, but he put on BRS, he lived in Brampton. So even if he had to check, it wouldn't show up anyway.
It's not supposed to be confidential, nobody should.
We don't know who it is, we just know that it's the agent, right? So giving service in a broad sense, service refers to action of helping or doing work for someone. It often involves providing assistance, support, and fulfilling a particular need. Representation means act of representing or standing in for someone or something. It can be various things, so. Same thing. Next. So you got the BRA, and then you've got your FinTrack, you've got your confirmation representation. I'll go straight to that. disclosure forms, so you still have your disclosure forms that will be for your acquisition or selling, buying properties. You still have to disclose if you're an agent, what you're doing, whether it's your brother-in-law, your brother, your sister, yourself. If you have to ask the question, do we need to disclose, and you should disclose. All right. We also have, we're prepared the form right now, will be ready for Friday. It's called a disclosure of material facts. Now, it's not for the buyer. We're doing the buyer side, but on the listing side, it's by law. You guys knew this, right? By law, the sellers, therefore you, have to disclose latent and material facts. Latent defects and material facts. You guys know that, right? So if you got a client that says to you, okay, we'll go back to the death one. Don't tell anybody that Mary died upstairs. The seller tells you, do not tell anybody that Mary died upstairs. Is that a legal instruction?
Illegal, yeah. You always trick them.
Okay. It is legal direction for them to say that, yes. So therefore, it's the buyer's responsibility. If your buyer's concerned about somebody dying in the place, it's the buyer's agent's responsibility to put in a clause saying there's no deaths.
But is it the right
Which
thing to do?
we did, by the way, last week, and I forget the agent that told me, but the agent said they did a firm deal. I think it was John. They did a firm deal, and then the seller reread that clause saying that the seller warrants there's no fires, no deaths, no something else. Then they realized there was something going on, and they had to disclose it, and they had to knock the price off 40 grand. So our clients still wanted it anyways, but they wanted a discount, right?
So if they ask.
It's up to the buyer's responsibility to disclose it, right? Now, let's say there's a major crack in the basement. And for some reason, the basement's full of crap, but the seller knows that it's there. And somehow you know what's there. I don't know how you found out it was there, but you know that big giant crack's there. That is called a what? It's a latent defect that would affect somebody's decision to buy it. But the fact that he's got it covered, and even a home inspector couldn't find it, but he knows and you know, you have to disclose that fact, and it has to be disclosed on a piece of paper that we're preparing called disclosure. Can't just say, oh, by the way, right? Which part? I've moved on to the next form already. So latent defects, so you got a big crack in the wall. If you're aware of it, you have to disclose it.
In writing.
In writing, not just, not you, the agent. I don't care anymore about the client. You, the agent.
And not just verbally, like in writing.
Like if he hides a crack behind an amor or something there, you don't see it, you don't know, but you can't disclose it, right? But if he tells you, oh, by the way, put the amor in front of that crack.
Yeah.
Now you have a problem.
The other example was a lot of houses will have a little bit of water damage in the spring when it dethaws. If the client says every spring we get a little bit of water in the basement, you need to disclose that. That's something that the buyers need to be aware of. Yep, they have to disclose it if they know.
If he's still in the agreement,
It
right?
makes sense to tell the seller that he's on a listing permit.
Don't
So,
tell me
what I'm
now.
gonna tell me, I'll have to disclose to the buyer. If something you don't want me to disclose to the buyer, that's not.
Okay, so the other,
Yeah.
the other thing we have is called receipt of funds. Receipt of funds.
Where'd that one come from?
Receipt of funds. Who's never heard of receipt of funds form?
It's your favorite form. We get it all. Everyone fills it out perfectly every time.
Receipt of funds form. I'm talking the buyer side. It's the responsibility of the buyer's agent to create a receipt of funds and give it to the office. A photocopy of a check, a photocopy of the receipt, or a photocopy of a wire transfer is not a receipt of funds. Receipt of funds is a proper form, number 3635. It has to be filled out every time that you give a deposit.
As well as tenants. This is not just purchases. This is for your tenants as well. Yes, I know. I know all of you. I know all your checklists.
It's a RICO, sorry, it's a FinTrack, it's a FinTrack requirement. And it says right there, amount of funds and how did you receive the funds? You received it by check or certified check or cash or bank draft or e-transfer or wire transfer. Again, a photocopy doesn't cut it.
Photocopy still doesn't bank.
Doesn't tell you where it came from.
It doesn't tell you when or whose hands it
Doesn't say
changed
you're
it to.
doesn't say you're gonna go to jail and get fined if you don't fill it out.
This one's not new. This is.
It's a FinTrack rule that's required. So if you find that Jeremy's after you saying FinTrack, when you FinTrack, give a photocopy of the check. That doesn't work.
Exactly there.
So it's all in there. A bank draft, just so you know, a bank draft. Okay, amount of funds. Here we go. Currency of funds. Date received. How do you receive it? Check, certified check, cash, bank draft, e-transfer, wire transfer, or other. Method of receipt. Was it electronically? That's fine. And then you got to fill in exchange. That's fine. And then you got to go down to the next
And
one.
either for further sums if you had two deposits.
Buyer's agent. Right, keep going.
So when Jeremy comes after you, reminding you about forms, these are not his rules. So don't be mad at him for reminding you what you need, right?
Don't ask me why. So Trudeau is charging us all what for carbon tax or printing out stuff, so he's just trying to generate more income, right? Transaction report. For some reason, people have a problem with the transaction reports.
I don't have that one.
I didn't.
That's okay. I'm gonna edit it.
Transaction report tells us what you did. Okay, so let's imagine, okay, that we get Jeremy or whoever it is, Samantha, gets
It's like this.
a whole whack of pages like this. He's got to go through it and figure out what was the final sales price, what was the final deposit, what's the closing date, what's the condition. She's got to face. Next thing you know, I'm reading like 4 pages, and some of it it's all over the place. So why not just do a summary on the transaction report and tell us, oh, by the way, total commission's this, closing date's this, here's the lawyer. So just save us a whole lot of time and just for you to do a cross check as well.
And not that we want you to do this, but if you are doing some sort of referral back to the client, this is your spot to put it, not in an email to Heather and Jeremy where they're going to get it lost. It should be right on your transaction report. So we have a written confirmation that that's what you wanted to do.
Okay, 141. Okay, and then I want to go back to the RICO. Can you go on RICO?
Do you want the self one or was it Nelson emailed it? The self-represented version.
That's
Of
one
it.
more.
Yeah, I can grab it.
I'll go through this.
I just need to stop this for a second.
Okay, you guys ask me questions.
You send it to Paige. Send it to Paige. Okay, we're gonna grab it.
Just go to RICO.
Okay, somebody have
Other questions on Facebook?
or here I can also do.
Okay. Facebook questions.
What if there's 2 agents from the same brokerage, one with the buyer, one with the seller, one is DR, one is not? Is it multiple rep or not?
Yeah, so the confirmation representation, it's section 3, box 2.
But no, it's not multiple
multiple
representation. Okay, I was like.
Go to confirmation representation. Actually, sorry, stick here. Okay,
Hold on,
so
let me gotta share the screen.
Party was just asking, verifying whether there was another RICO form. Okay,
There.
so we've got the RICO information guide. Working with the realtor, the client decides they want to be self-represented for whatever reason. Then we have to give them another RICO guide. It says information and disclosure so they know the consequences of that decision.
It's self-represented.
If they decide to be self-represented, then they have to, so there's another RICO form that tells them the consequences of that decision. And then they still want to go forward, then you go back into the real forms with the multiple representation consent, both the buyer and the seller. And then you go to confirmation representation to just declare what the representation is.
Does anyone really deal with self-represented people? Does it happen a lot? You do, Michael? You said that?
I had one last month.
Yeah.
But they ended up coming through with an agent anyways, right? So we don't see it a lot.
I think where you're gonna see a lot is leases.
Leases, okay.
I think leases you'll see a lot.
Can we get in trouble if someone signed with self-represented?
No, you can always change your mind.
It's not like a beer.
Yeah, it's kind of explaining the risk to them of being self-represented. It's not really advocating for them to do that. It's showing them they're not going to get advice or they have to do their own stuff, right? So they're not advocating for it.
Question. Like,
You said
is
it's in some-
it self-represented with them dates like from when to
One
when?
to hand.
Mhm, should be on the list.
I'm sorry, should I ask what questions, huh?
If it's self-represented,
Right.
there would be dates from when to when he's going to represent himself. Then he might change his mind, is there?
Well, no, I think he's just acknowledges that he's self-represented and that's it. If he wants to sign BRA, just sign BRA and they're done.
So there's no dates on the settlement.
Okay, this is all CCR.
Okay,
Let's do
so
one-on-one. I don't-
one, yeah, I'll go to the first one. Okay, so this CCR here, this is one where the listing agent has a designated representation with the seller and the buyer.
Is it multiple representation?
So
One
it's
agent.
one agent, DR with the buyer and DR with the listing agent, with the
Buyer.
seller.
Yes.
So if we scroll down, you're gonna see here, it's multiple representation, designated representation. And the second box is listing designated representation represents more than one client. And it represents both. the-
Yes, you
who's-
are.
who
You
said-
are allowed
who's-
to do multiple representation.
Nobody ever said they're not allowed multiple representation.
can do
That
it.
never came out of anybody's mouth.
But there's disclosures and forms you'll complete, but you can do multiple representation.
Everybody clear with that? This is very simple. This is, if you got two DRs, it's multiple representation, but it's multiple representation with two DRs.
So this is when you have a listing and you have your own buyer and that buyer agrees that they want you to rep them because the buyer gets to decide what representation they get. It's still multiple rep because you're one agent representing both. Which is allowed.
So in this particular case here, let's use this one here. So it's my listing, it's my buyer, and I'm DR for both. And so it's multiple representation, but DR multiple representation. So on CCR, I'm gonna click this. But before I've done this is like an offer stage. I've done the RICO guide. I've done the RICO I've done the RICO guide, and I've also done the consent to multiple representation before I got to this stage. Both the buyer and the seller have given me consent on forms 325, 326. They give me consent to multiple representation. Now I'm going to do multiple representation with confirmation representation, and then I'm going to give them the offer.
But this would be multiple, is buying that same property that you.
Right, you double end your own property. Right? You double end your own property. All right. Are we okay with that one? DR. Okay, so the next one.
Well, here, yeah, you have to do this section 2, right? Because both sides have to say what they are.
So it's
And they're now 3 pages long. I don't have it here, but CCRs are all 3 pages long now.
on all the agreements. Well, we can bring up the next one. All agreements before, if it was 6 months or longer, you have to get them to initial it. Now you have to get to initial it every time. List every time. There's a little bubble there in this. The listing agent has a buyer rep. The buyer, no designation rep. What's that?
So there's no designated representation.
Listing agent represents.
So there's these are brokerage representations. There's no designated reps, but it's still, they're representing both sides.
So no DRs.
There's no DRs, but the listing agent's representing both the seller and the buyer client.
Was that the question?
No, not yet.
Listing agent has a buyer rep with the buyer, no designated reps at all, either one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no designated reps at all, which we're not gonna go down that road anyways, I don't think. But from time to time it will be if there's a mistake.
Yeah.
But in that case, it's gonna be full out multiple representation.
Still multiple representation.
Because in this case, it's not DRs, it's brokerage.
When you someone sign the listing, because the buyer contracts. Or they don't want to sign the buyer. So, but they want to buy from this is some, but they're already on some.
They could be.
They're already.
Okay, so the question is, you've got a listing and the buyer wants to buy a property, but the buyer wants to be self-represented for the purchase. All right? They can, but the only problem is you're not gonna get paid and you can't get paid from him from the purchase. You cannot get paid on the purchase.
Why?
Because you don't represent the buyer.
And you cannot be paid from a self-represented person. Yeah, you cannot be paid from a
Can't get paid
self-represented
by a
person.
self-represented person.
Okay.
So you'd only get the listing portion of your
If
commission.
you're gonna get paid, then you gotta get a limited service buyer agreement.
Would that be some exemption buyer?
Yeah, there is now a limited, there is a limited service buyer
Because
agreement.
otherwise, I said, you already have a relationship with them, how could that be one side?
That's right.
relation, second side?
Yeah, that's weird.
no relation?
Sorry, Bill had a question.
I was asking that time, latent defect, let's say the buyer is buying the builder's property. And there is a defect on latent. And the warranty almost going, expire, for example, after a month. Then you have to tell them that that's what will be happening.
To the next buyer? Yeah. Next buyer, you gotta tell them that there's a crack in the basement.
Ask your patio, I'll say, look, yeah, the patio.
And then you can say, there's a crack in the basement and the Terry is supposed to take care of it.
They won't take care.
Why won't Terry?
For example, anything.
So it doesn't really matter. It's a resale house now.
This is more related to the question.
Okay, so now you've got a designated representative, not the listing agent. So this is the,
So listing agent has designated a rep with their own client, buyer agent has designated a rep with their own client. There's designated reps on both sides and it's two different agents.
so that'd be the same one we did before.
What would you sign the final agreement?
Correct. That's right, yeah. So the listing agent before, the listing agent had DR for both the buyer and the seller. Now, the listing agent represents the seller as a DR, and the buyers from our company, and they have a DR.
So they're both Percy Fulton agents, and they each have DR.
So before that would be multi-representation, but now because you both have your own representatives, both DRs, it's not multi-representation.
Oh, so it's not about the.
Right here,
I know, but it's,
Your own?
let's read it, Claire, so you can.
so it says here that the multiple representation, designated representation, okay, where the seller and the buyer are represented by a designated representation of the brokerage. Multi-representation will not result unless a designated representation represents more than one client, which they don't. In this case, the seller and the buyer client are each separately represented by different designated representations of the same brokerage,
And there is no multiple representation.
and there's no multiple.
What if it's a team member?
Well, what would make it multiple?
If the team member DR,
They have a DR,
then it'd be the same.
so they're not, this is not what.
No. Even though it's in the multi-representation box, it's not multi-representation.
Yeah, just think of that as a heading, but make sure you're reading clearly what boxes you're checking.
So that answer the question?
Yeah, that's the question.
Was it three of them or one? Was
There's
another
one
one?
more.
Buyer agent from another brokerage.
This is the most likely scenario.
So you represent the listing side, right? So you're gonna, listing brokerage represents the
Because it's not representing the
it's not
buyer.
representing the buyer. And then it should be section 3 should just be the standard co-op. It's either as per MLS, or if you're gonna change it, it should be the other box. You click off both those, or it's one or the other?
Yeah, because one is representation, one is
Two
commission.
different scenarios. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what we do right now, but it's very similar.
This is the most, yeah.
So what's gonna happen this weekend is, right now you see this form here, scroll down the form.
I don't have this third page here. So.
No, I want to see the picture.
Oh, they're not in effect.
What if
See,
we
it
don't
said-
get these forms on-
Oh, so I'm saying here right now. So not in effect until December the 1st.
So you can go right now and download these, but they will have that watermark at the top that says not in effect, but they're all available. If you want to like download them, read them, print them, they're available. They just have that watermark on it. You can't, they're not in principle right now.
Always behind schedule. Why can't they say, give us a form month in advance?
I agree.
Well, there's a form missing, for instance, Form 202. Form 202 is if a mere posting, one of these discount guys does a mere posting, and they offer $1 commission. Then you have Form 202 where you negotiate with the seller your commission, and then they pay you through that. You know what the form talked about? I don't see any form for that yet.
But can you not use the old one?
I would for now. It says also not allowed to use
That's
new
right.
forms, so if there's not a new form, I'd use the old one.
Well, also the argument is that you're not allowed to be paid by a self-represented party. So they can't create a form that allows that because the law is saying you can't do that. So there's a gray area right
Well,
there.
except they're represented.
With limited services, you can.
Alright. So what's happened? December 1st. So December 1st, you're gonna phone the girl, say, oh, I want an offer type. It's gonna take longer than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Because you might be the first one that did that. So they're gonna have to start from scratch, create the offer, and hopefully then if you're the first one, it's gonna take longer, and then they're gonna save that agreement. So the next guy comes in, asks for the same thing, they'll take that template and do it again.
And hopefully we will actually receive them on the 29th, which will give us 2 days to create the packages and templates, but it's still gonna be a really hectic 2 days, so.
Now, one thing that this scares me more than anything else, they told us we have the forms ready the 29th, which is good. And that would be on
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So that'll give us 1 day to get ready. What I'm more concerned about is when did they give it to Lone Wolf and when did they give it to Sky Slope? Because Sky Slope and Lone Wolf have to create the editable files. So when we type an offer for you, we send it to you in what's called an editable file. So we type in the main parts, but you may want to leave the price out or the deposit out. We send it to you, you fill in the rest. Is that how you guys do it now?
Yeah.
Lone Wolf is the one that prepares those editable forms, and they've got 1 day to do 1,000 forms.
I hope, we hope so.
Postpone the date.
They've already postponed it from November last year.
This is the new date.
It was supposed to be November last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Tressa phase 1 already launched. That's where your prex came into play. This is now phase 2, but it should have been part of phase 1.
Phase 3 coming next year.
That it is, yeah.
So we're not supposed to.
No, we're not kidding. Phase 3 is coming January.
Phase 3 is next year, by the way. So what else? So that concerns me most. If we don't have those editable forms, then we're gonna be.
So the old one.
I'm not allowed to use the old one either, so.
How is this done?
Most of the forms yet, because
Oh.
anyone that had the word customer is gone. Commercial has its own, tenants have their own. So yeah, most forms have changed.
I was told there's 1,000 changes, not 1,000 new forms. There's only about half a dozen new forms, but there's been 1,000 changes to get rid of the customers.
Yep.
That's what we're trying to do.
That'll be, as soon as we get our hands on the raw editable forms, we'll change them.
Actually, it's a good time, December 1st, because it's slow time.
I guess so.
December 1st is in 4 days. 4 days.
You wanna get into offer disclosures or anything like that, or?
No, December.
All right, just to remind you, okay, just off topic here, if you've got listings and you get multiple offers. So if you've got a listing and you get multiple offers, then congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing.
I think in today's market, right? But if you do, then your seller has the option. And I've spent the least time on this because I think it's the least problemsome.
Yeah, I agree.
You can disclose the contents of the offer, provided that your seller gives permission. And you get permission from your seller, you're gonna get the Form 209 signed. And you can decide whether it's gonna be the price, the deposit, the closing date, the terms, whatever you want to disclose, and you can disclose, not disclose. There is a strategy behind this. I know that you're gonna be hopefully talking to other brokers, and you're gonna read stuff on how they took advantage of this new tool where you can disclose the contents of the offers. What a great thing. You're gonna read all this stuff. Think twice about it, because you're representing the seller. You're trying to get the most money for the seller. You're not trying to make it convenient for the buyer. The only guys that are pushing for this are the buyer's agents, because they want a fair, they want to know what they're competing. They want it fair. We represent the seller. We don't want fair. Right?
They don't want to disclose, you don't have to sign anything.
Don't have to disclose a thing. So what we're telling everybody to do is be very clear. We'll find out as we go through what happens. In my mind, this is what I see happening. You get multiple offers. You do what you normally would do. You sign back the offer, or come back a second round. At some point in time, you're gonna have 2 or 3 people that are just neck and neck, and you can't make a decision. They're just identical. Then you're gonna go to the seller and say, look, I think now's the time we maybe want to disclose the price and see if we can squeeze a little bit more of this banana.
Especially when they're close.
right? When they're really close. And then you can disclose it, and why not disclose it? A lot of people do this. A lot of people disclose it to the final two guys. Why not disclose it to everybody?
They could be close. You could also have one that's like really good and the rest are not, and you kind of want to get everyone up to that. That could be another strategy to do that.
No, then the one.
That's right. That's the risk.
Be careful that.
Okay, so here's, all right, so then,
Back out at that time.
yeah, you haven't got a deposit, right? So Nelson brings up a good point. This is the point why you don't want to disclose it. You might have three offers. One offers is for $1 million and the other two offers are for 900,000. You've decided to be the good person and you're gonna disclose all offers right from the very beginning. The other two buyers, or sorry, the guy that offered $1 million sees the other two offers are 900,000. What do you think he's gonna do? He's gonna withdraw his offer. And you're gonna say, you can't withdraw your offers, you're revolted. You say, come get me.
Do you want to talk about the buyer clause?
Just disclose at the very end when you're very close. All right, so this may be a non-starter.
Do you want to talk about the buyer clause that if their offer is null and void?
Okay, and then if we really get into a strong market, which I hope we will, so we get in a strong market and you have a buyer that says, I'm not doing that. I mean, I don't want my, that's my offer. I'm not gonna use my offer to jack up the other prices. So I'm gonna put a clause in my offer saying that in the event that the seller elects to disclose contents of all offers, then my offer is hereby null and void and withdrawn.
And there is a clause that we will be provided to do that. Not a form, it's a
There's no
clause.
form for that, it's a clause.
It's a clause that will be in the offer.
Okay, and then the other thing for multi-representation, before you could phone up the agents and say there's one offer, two offers, I have my own offer. Of an office with multiple offers. You have to disclose all these things. You can no longer do it over the phone. You must do it with the brokerage communication form 652. So in multiple offer situations, when you're competing and you have your own offer or somebody's reducing their commission or somebody's whatever else, you've got to use this form to communicate. You can't just use a phone call.
That's the end of that strategy. An extra form. We're not pricing it low, just pricing it whatever it goes.
Would you do an email?
Tressa says it needs to be in writing, doesn't say it needs to be on ORIA form 652, but this will protect you because it has all the details you need to have the writing sufficient enough to hold up.
This is only multiple rep, or this is the multiple offers?
Multiple offers.
Multiple offers.
Let's say one of the multiple offers guys reduces commission, make his offer better. You have to disclose it through this form saying that offer number B reduces commission by 1%.
That's right.
If someone complains.
Congratulations. You've never had a RICO complaint. When you get a RICO complaint, they want everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, question is, Broker Bay does this. So RICO says you must put it in writing, and Kari's right. You must put it in writing. Why not use this form? But can you use email? As long as it's in writing, I don't see anywhere where you have to use forms. I want to say just as good. This is best.
But an email is time stamped and it's,
But your Broker Bay says one offer, two offer, three offers. So what are you gonna give like 10 offers? You're gonna give everybody, you're gonna send this to 10 people saying you've got 10 offers, and then you get a ninth offer, you gotta send it again. So you got 9 offers, or one with
this one withdrawals.
one withdrawal, you gotta send it again, saying one's withdrawn. No,
Only Treb, Toronto, yeah.
no. Yeah, I know, and this is a good point, because this is a law for all of Ontario. I don't think guys in Thunder Bay have Broker Bay.
Yeah.
Right? They probably have something better.
They're just sending a notification and somebody's not in broker, they started notification.
No.
So then how are we supposed to send a notification? About the.
This or email?
The offer we have. Email to the offer.
Somebody that doesn't have broker pay, books an appointment on an office, you're gonna get that communication.
Nope, they get it through their office, the old school way. Their office confirms it, right? Go back old, that's how we used to. So yeah, they don't have broker bay.
There you go, Bob.
Yeah.
I told to confuse us.
So, okay, so it's 2 o'clock. Okay, so what I said before, this is not a excuse not to sell real estate. It's not an excuse for the real estate to go down. This is not a reason not to talk to clients. It's not a reason not to make money. It's none of the things, right? Just when it comes time to do it, you gotta do the proper things, but treat it as a prospect at the very beginning until they've signed something.
Yeah, the RICO guide mandatory. You literally start sending it to your people now if you wanted to. Any questions online?
That come in.
Yes, you can change your mind. You mean,
Seller,
yes,
no, okay, so to answer USAN's question there, this Form 209, you take the listing today and you don't know if you get multiple offers. So let's say you get multiple offers next month. And then you get to what the point I'm talking, when you get down to the final 2, then you get the seller to sign this and then you disclose it. You don't have to do it at the listing time.
And you can stop disclosing too.
yeah, you can
You
revert it.
can also anytime decide not to. Anything else? Okay, Wednesdays?
You could try it. Why not?
I agree. This is what I told you guys before. I mean, you guys like lawyers and like doctors. I mean, it's no more commission.
Video. Yes. Say bye online.